Well, Gerard,
Hang on, start again.
Gerard, you've performed something of a miracle here. It seems like you have ensured the survival of UKIP by paying off this outrageous amount of money. Is that true? Are we in is UKIP in the clear? Is it living?
Yes. I mean, when I took over on the 17th of Feb, we were in imminent danger of going into the red, and the party would have been trading insolvently. What I did is I asked the members to actually donate so that we could go into the black. That's precisely what they've done in an unprecedented generosity in the history of this party. And you refer to the legal bill as well. Well, that's going to be paid next week. We found a way of funding that separately. So as from next week, we shall be in the clear. UKIP will have survived.
I think that's a remarkable thing, and I think I and everyone else, we've got to congratulate you. I'm here speaking to you now. We've known each other a quarter of a century. Like you, founder member of UKIP. I was purged just before Jimmy Goldsmith started Referendum Party. And I'll admit, in all of that time, I've barely said two good words about UKIP to anyone. I'm here today wanting to speak to you because, well, like all of those people who've chipped in a tenner or 10 grand, whatever it was, they've got confidence in you. I have some confidence in you, but more than that, it's a view I think that UKIP is needed at the moment. No one would have given that money out of nostalgia. It's because there is a task before us, and we've got some idea that you may be able to accomplish that task. Let's leave the money, all those problems aside. Let's talk about what UKIP needs to do now.
Okay. First of all, I'd say don't congratulate me, congratulate the members, because they've given that money, like as you say, because they believe in UKIP and its mission and the need for UKIP, and of course they have got confidence in me to turn it round because they've known me for 25 years, going up and down the country talking to them. They know what they're getting when they get me, but it is down to them. It's down to all those thousands of people who've always been the backbone of UKIP. It's always been about them because they're the people that make it work. They're the boots on the ground. They're the people who find the money. They're the people who deliver the leaflets. So I've stepped up for their. It's not because I have any great ambitions to be a political leader. It's because I believe in what we do. I believe in them, and there wasn't really an alternative to me stepping up, which is why I've done it. As for how we're going forward and what we're going to do, yes, there is a tremendous need for UKIP. UKIP got the referendum, it achieved the referendum, and actually it was UKIP boots on the ground that won the referendum. I'll argue that with anybody. Okay. I believe it was us. Obviously other people helped, but it was predominantly our efforts that got the result where we are. And sadly, I predicted that what would happen after the referendum, which would be a ditch-by-ditch war of attrition from the Remainers and the political establishment to stop it happening. And that's what we've seen. What's happened is now it's coming up to almost 2 years now since the referendum. In 3 months' time it'll be 2 years. What's happened? Very little, except surrender, appeasement, which is exactly what I said would happen.
I think a lot of people said this. I mean, there is I think, for people who've observed these things, historians or people out of political experience, see there's a certain inevitability maybe that a referendum is at best only a petition to a reluctant establishment. Power has not been changed. No. They still have power, we still don't. There has been no storming of the Winter Palace. In that situation, as you say, we're looking at, well, failure would be the polite word. Other people might say betrayal.
Oh, I would say betrayal, absolutely, because they intended to betray it. I think if you want to make a comparison, it's not so much the Russian Revolution as the Peasants' Revolt, because they all knew what they wanted, but they trusted in the establishment to give it to. They wanted to execute the aristocracy but keep the king, and of course the king wasn't going to go along with what they wanted. And the same with us is they're expecting the political establishment, and in this particular instance, Mrs May and the Conservative Party to deliver Brexit when she's got no wish or a motivation to do that because she doesn't believe in it.
No. Well, let's take it for granted that between ourselves and our viewers, we understand that what we're going to get here is a cosmetic Brexit. We're going to get les passeports bleus and precious little else. We'll still be European arrest warrant, involved in funding European defence structures, involved in foreign affairs competence of the European Union, as described at the Munich speech. if we do get no deal, it won't be a universal no deal.
Mm.
It's just we will have deals and everything else, but just no trade deal.
Yeah.
Worst of all worlds. They'll have got what they want, and we'll have surrendered everything we didn't want to give. In Bruges Group, some of us have described, seen certain parallels and similarities with Irish independence. That what we're looking at is a generation of Irish free state status for Britain, and maybe it's in that kind of situation, or other historical comparisons you might draw, that UKIP has its role. As I would say, in 25 years of UKIP, this is the first time I can see UKIP as being absolutely necessary to British politics.
Well, I wouldn't agree with you there, because I think UKIP existed in order to fill a vacuum, and that vacuum was that we didn't have any political party that really wanted to leave the European Union, so we had to create one, which is what we did. And I also think there's a lot of other issues out there that UKIP represents as well, but to leave those aside for a minute, UKIP existed to fill that political vacuum of a genuine political party that wanted to leave the European Union. We filled that. We got to the stage where we had the referendum. Everybody thinks it's all over. Well, it's not all over.
The vacuum persists.
Yes, the vacuum is still there because the political establishment doesn't want to leave. And our primary function now, and there's lots of other things we need to do, but our primary function has to be to restart the battle on Brexit and make sure that we get exit from the EU, a genuine exit. And there's only one way of doing that, which is the same reason that we set UKIP up in the first place. The only thing the politicians in the establishment care about is votes. And if they lose votes, they get very jittery, which is why Cameron was forced to give us the referendum in the first place. And that's why we've got to come back on the scene and start taking votes away from them again.
Let me ask you then, within weeks, really, there's the local elections in some parts of England. Up until very recent events with UKIP, in an unpopular way, admittedly, but some of us have been seeing that a lot of people who voted for to leave in the referendum will feel seriously betrayed. All elections, but the local elections are the next one. They will be characterised as the revenge elections. This will be the motivation of a lot of people. They'll feel let down by what's happening with Theresa May. Up until a few weeks ago, up until we had confidence that you had saved UKIP, let's put it as bluntly as that, we'd have said vote Labour. I'd have said vote Labour. Because I am so angry. It's like, in any violent confrontation, there's no point telling the other guy, oh, be reasonable, let's talk about this. No, you've got to get your blow in. You have got to be a berserker. You have to be unreasoning in your violence of your anger, otherwise there's no point. That's what I said. No matter how bad Corbyn is, vote for him to express that anger. It would have been blind rage. But now, UKIP's back on the scene, I can do something slightly more creative, something slightly more intelligent. I can have reasoned rage. In the few weeks that there are between now and the elections, can you pull something together?
Well, finding the money was the easy part, really, because what I've got to do now is rebuild UKIP as an electoral threat. When I stepped in, I found there was no campaign planned at all. There was nothing. This should have been started in October, so that we'd had 6 months to actually build up to this, and I found there was nothing. Then Henry Bolton did what he was good at, which was starting a committee, which then didn't actually do anything. So we had no preparations really at all. So I've tried, in between all the other fires that I've been fighting, I've had to actually try and cobble something together. And at this point in time, I'm not sure whether we're going to get 740 candidates, which is the minimum for a TV broadcast. What I want to do is get 740 plus, get the TV broadcast, so that we can show the country we are back in the fight, we're back in the field. And then, as you say, local elections are supposed to be about local issues, but they're often not, because if you live where I live, in the London Borough of Newham, where we've had a 100% Labour council and a Labour MP since 1894, or whatever it was, there's no point in voting Labour unless you're Labour. So yes, people can use those elections to vote for UKIP, to say we want to tell the government that we want a proper exit from the EU, that we want controls on immigration, that we want a country run for the benefit of our own citizens for a change. So there's a range of reasons why they can vote UKIP, but they can't do that unless we're there. And my difficulty is to make sure that there are candidates.
It's one of those few good words I may have begrudgingly said about UKIP is that some UKIP councillors, the ones that I've come across, are actually half decent councillors because they were drawn out of almost an apolitical class with a conventional attitude of service, and they turned out to be an awful lot better than people imagined. They're actually worth saving if you've got one up.
Exactly, so people should look at their local councillors. If they've got a UKIP councillor and they decide that they're doing a good job,
give them a look at.
That's an excellent reason to vote for them, because it is about serving the local communities. So they can do that, and as a secondary reason, they can do it, as you say, for revenge on Mrs May and the appeasers on both sides of the political divide. I mean, I wouldn't never vote Labour, even as a protest against Mrs May. Me and Corbyn had one thing in common for the whole of our political lives for the last 40 years. We were both opposed to the EU. Now, I'm consistent, I've kept it. He's actually suddenly now changed it, which does surprise me somewhat, because we were probably opposed to it for different reasons, but we were both rock solid against it up until fairly recently, and now he's had to cave in on his beliefs, which I find very disappointing.
Let me ask you then some more practical questions. And as I said, in November, I'm so used to calling him Admiral Durnitz, I've forgotten the guy's name. Mr. Bolton. I was going to speak to him, and as an army officer, I was going to ask him for his battlefield appreciation. What elements did he still have under his command? And I would fear that your situation may be worse than his, that a lot of people left UKIP in recent weeks, before the meeting up in Birmingham, because of dissatisfaction. They thought UKIP had died, and they thought they should do other practical things. I don't know what other elements in Brussels or in Devon. I don't know what you actually have under your command. What is left of?
Well, we've got some good MEPs who do a good job and are very conscientious and produced a lot of good work for us. We've got a lot of branches out there. We've lost a lot of people, it's true, and the branches have folded. But actually, a lot of those people are coming back now. And I've had people emailing me and saying that they'll come back if I'm going to be the leader. But what I've offered to the NEC, and I think this is probably go public with this fairly shortly by the time your interview comes out, is that I'm offering to be the leader for the next 12 months. If there's an uncontested election, we don't have £30,000 to £50,000 to spend on leadership, but you haven't got it. Well, we're in the black, but we're not going to waste £30,000 to £50,000. We may be forced to, because the Constitution says we have to run an election. But I'm prepared to stand up for a year to try and get the party back on track in every way. If it's an uncontested election, then it doesn't cost us anything. So I'm going to make that offer to the party. It's up to the party whether they want to do it. It only takes one dissident to stand up and run, and then we have to have a full-fledged election, which is going to cost a lot of money, which we don't need at this point. And a lot of people have said to me, that they will come back to the party, they'll work for the party again if I do that. And I have to say, I've been going around the country in the last few weeks. I was in Birmingham, Hull, Gloucester just in the last week, and I've been surprised, really very, very favourably, nicely surprised at the people that are coming back. They're re-energised, they're back into the fight, they're getting their enthusiasm back. And and I don't think that's because I'm a great political genius. This is because I've done doing the right things. They know they can rely on me to do the right things, and they've agreed with what I say. And I have consistently what I've said. I've told them Brexit's going to be betrayed. I've stood up on a number of other issues like immigration and Islamisation and things like that. They like what I'm saying, and they're coming back to support me because they feel the message is the right.
I can sympathise with that. I mean, I'm not going to join UKIP, but after a quarter of a century, this is the first time doing anything like this. So I can understand those motivations. There are other people, though, and I see it as an entirely positive benefit of this crisis that we've had, without any political movement like UKIP, any revolutionary organisation, if you want to say, has one problem which may be greater than any other, and that is the problem of opportunists. And UKIP has been dogged massively by opportunists. Do you think one of the benefits of this could be that a lot of these people have been purged? They mistakenly thought that the ship was sinking, understandably. The rats have deserted, and you know which ones not to have back. Do you think that in itself will reassure an awful lot of people who have for a long time been very, very critical of UKIP and its culture.
Yeah, I think you get that in every political party, don't you?
Yes.
So it's nothing particular to UKIP.
It's universal.
The House of Commons is full of opportunists who don't actually believe in anything except being MPs. So I don't think that's particularly our problem.
No.
I know one when I see one because I've been in this a long time, and I've already appointed a couple of new spokesmen, for example. Dave Moreland, as the Home Affairs spokesman, who was a former Metropolitan Police officer, so he knows his subject, and Professor Stephen Bush as the industry spokesman, because he's got lots of good ideas about how to provide jobs in the north of England, for example, how to bring back manufacturing industry to places like that. So I want to appoint people that know what they're talking about, can actually put out positive messages that people can understand. And in terms of elections, well, at the moment, we're running the local elections, and the general election is a bit far off, but I want people to run who we know will do a good job if they get elected. People are reliable and put. And I think what we've done in the past in UKIP, we haven't put enough of a premium on loyalty to the party. We've had people come in, win something, and then leave us. And who can I think of that? I'm not going to name any names, but there's at least 3 MEPs I could think of who left the party of their own volition, who weren't in it that long, who didn't actually give anything to the party financially while they were in it, but are now sitting in Brussels taking their salary, their €300 a day, and are sitting in the independents or gone off to the Tories. Now, what I would do is anyone that we can select for a winnable seat, and what's winnable is where there's a PR system, for example, in the assemblies, in London Assembly, Welsh Assembly, Scottish Assembly. I only want people in there that have got loyalty to the party. Yes, they have to have ability, they've got to have the brains to do the job, but I want loyalty to the party, because when the fight gets going, when you get into a tricky corner like we are now, you look to who's staying to support you, who's actually coughed up a bit of money to help us out.
Well, I think in any case the electorate want that kind of person.
Yes.
There are lots of clever people in this world, but you want to vote for an honest man, if you can. An honest man who's not quite as clever as the dishonest man is still a better bet. I think that's what people are yearning for in all of politics.
Well, I think you look for that in business when you employ people. You look for ability and reliability and consistency in people. Brilliant people can often be a bit inconsistent and unreliable sometimes, so you have to make a judgment between the two. And for me, this is like, you make some military analogies, and I would agree with that one. We're like an army. And if you're going to go into battle and trust your comrades, you've got to know that they're loyal. Yes. You don't want to look around and find they're not there.
Exactly.
And I think that's very important in politics.
Well, I'm hoping that you've got a good core of people. You've already achieved what to, let's say, most people appears to have been a miracle. UKIP is back. It's part of the family of anti-EU organisations, and I'm wishing you luck.
Thank you. Like I say, that every UKIP meeting I go to, I speak to a UKIP audience. It's about them. They're the people who make that possible, because they're the people who are not getting a salary, they're not getting allowances, but they're giving you money out of their own pocket, very often what they can't afford, in order to enable us to continue. And that's why I'm doing this, and they're the people I'm fighting for, apart from the general population out there who want the messages that UKIP is putting out. The reason I'm able to keep going is because I know I'm representing those people, and they deserve leadership.
They do. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, David.